Well, we made it through, everybody. We got through all 7 Wrong Turn films. If you're just joining me for the first time, I just reviewed in succession all of the Wrong Turn films, so they're all there for your viewing pleasure. Now we are here to rank this franchise. 7 films, 6 of the original ones, plus the brand new remake slash reboot that just dropped on Tuesday on VOD. And I'll tell you what, I didn't realize until doing this franchise review series how passionate you Wrong Turn fans really can be. I didn't realize this had such a fan base. I always thought this was one of those, I'll call it a throwaway franchise, but you guys are here, so let's see how controversial this ranking is. Starting off at number 7, the worst of the worst, the bottom of the barrel, and quite honestly one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life, is Wrong Turn 5, Bloodlines. This is where Doug Bradley was brought in as the patriarch of this family. The production value took a gigantic nosedive, which was already pretty low in the past couple. The studio town set that they made was absolute garbage. The character designs and the makeup was garbage. The characters themselves were garbage. There was really nothing positive that I had to say about this movie other than the cool little effect they did with the hand signifying Wrong Turn 5 in the first 5 minutes. After that, it was all downhill. This is a trash movie, a trash sequel, and when people tell me that horror films, or especially slasher films, are terrible, I imagine this is the type of movie that they think of, which there are much better ones out there. So even if you're a fan of this franchise, I think this is an absolute dog shit movie. Wrong Turn 5 Bloodlines, worst of this franchise. Coming in, not really so far above that. I mean, if I could tie it, they're really the worst for different reasons. Number 6 for me is going to be Wrong Turn 6 Last Resort. And this is basically a softcore porn. This is not actually a slasher film. There's a couple kills in here, obviously, but it feels like they're just there to call it a Wrong Turn movie, when really what they wanted was some kind of a fetish, incest, taboo porn film, and that's what you get throughout this. It's just all sex scenes and all gross shit. The production value, the acting, the characters, the story, everything that I just said about Wrong Turn 5 rings true here. For some reason, 5 offended me more. So I don't know, it just depends on what you want. If you want a garbage slasher movie or if you want a garbage softcore porn, really, I'll never see either one of them again. So this one's number 6. Coming in at number 5, to be honest, 5 and 4 are pretty close for me. I did rank one a little bit higher in my review, but I mean, they're not really all that different as far as quality here. But this is going to be controversial because apparently a lot of you guys love this movie, and I don't quite understand why. Number 5 for me is going to be Wrong Turn 2, Dead End. Now, I'll be fair and say that it might have just been the fact that I watched these in a binge mode and went from the first Wrong Turn to this one and just saw that decline in quality, and it kind of struck me harder, whereas this film kind of set the tone for the rest of the franchise, and I didn't have the pain of seeing the drop wasn't quite as much of a blow as the drop from 1 to 2. But in general, 2 has some entertainment value, mostly with the character of Henry Rollins. There is still some decent practical gore. They certainly up the gore from the first movie, so if you watch these films just for the gore, I can imagine that's where a lot of you guys are coming from, saying that this one's your favorite. I even had somebody call this a classic, which, not to put down other people's opinions, this is not a classic. But other than that, you have some of the most wooden caricatures, just the regular old 20-something people that you see in any fucking slasher movie any day of the week. The kills are not really all that impressive because a lot of them has CG elements to it, like this arrow effect that was terrible. Even just the thing that really turned me off about this one mostly was that they really, really hammer home this whole theme of incest. And you literally have brothers and sisters fucking each other on screen in this, and it's just, I don't know, that just took away some of the enjoyment for me. You know, some of the films in this franchise just hammer home on one specific theme, whether it's inbred or cannibal or hillbilly. This one hammered home on inbred, wasn't really that enjoyable for me. Comes in at number 5. Just barely above that at number 4 is going to be Wrong Turn 3, Left 4 Dead. Now, this one honestly was only brought above number 2 for me by a sliver, because I was entertained with how bad it was. And some movies can walk that fine line. That's a very subjective thing. Some movies are absolute garbage and you watch them and they're just garbage. Some movies are garbage and you watch them and you just laugh at how garbage they are. And that kind of went across that threshold for me in this one. You have the storyline of these convicts that get crashed and they're left into the woods, which brings this interesting element of an entire cast of characters that you kind of want to see get killed, so that brings a new little dynamic in there. You have one villain the entire time, which kind of builds him up to be a badass versus having this family element, which I do really miss the family element in this one. And there are some pretty awesome kills in this movie, while CG killing most of them. Like, you have the barbed wire kill where the guy is cocooned in barbed wire and driven away on the tow truck. To me, that's the best kill of the franchise, and that's one little nugget that puts this above the movies below it, is that that's a pretty badass kill that I will remember is a Wrong Turn specific kill. The rest of them, splitting a guy in three, looks great, and then it looks like a computer graphic. And then you got a guy that gets his face sliced off, and it looks great, then it's computer graphics. So, again, this is a movie that I'll never watch again. But if I had to watch any of the Wrong Turn sequels, I can at least get some stupid fun out of this one. Coming in at number 3 is Wrong Turn 4 Bloody Beginnings. Now, at one point, I was thinking this is easily going to be the one that I hate the most because I really don't care for prequels. I say that all the time. Prequels tend to answer questions that I'm not asking, or answer questions that I was asking but preferred the mystery versus the answer that they chose to lock in as the answer. And this movie doesn't quite reach that level of offensive for me because all it really does is give you some very basic explanation for why this guy's called Three Finger, why this guy is called Sawtooth, and why this guy is called One Eye. So I didn't really mind the prequel side of this, and the rest of the movie beyond that little prologue might as well just be a sequel. It doesn't even really matter if this takes place before or afterwards. It's just the three main villains versus a bunch of 20-somethings stuck in an asylum. And the asylum setting does make this movie stand out a bit. The rest of this franchise is all in the woods, it's all in the wilderness, and this one's kind of a nice breath of fresh air as far as the pacing because they're in this asylum, and I like that. Also, they bring back a lot of practical effects. There is some computer-generated effects, but there's like a rack kill where a guy gets his limbs pulled off that's pretty gnarly. There's a guy getting tortured and his skin's getting filleted and fondued right in front of everyone that's pretty gnarly. And despite the fact that this movie has some of the most infuriating slasher characters that I've ever seen, just making the dumbest possible decisions over and over and over again, it does walk that fine line of where you're laughing at the screen like, I can't fucking believe they're this stupid. So it's like that weird thing where it pisses you off, but at the same time you're laughing when the last two people alive decapitate themselves like idiots. So again, probably not a movie that I will ever watch again. There's a common theme throughout most of this franchise, but if I'm gonna watch any of these Wrong Turn sequels, at least this one gives me a nice change of pace that is pretty welcome after so many of these hillbilly cannibal West Virginia wood movies. Now we are at the top 2, and this is where you're gonna separate the two camps. You're gonna have people that go for the original film because they like nostalgia, because they like more of the classic slasher element, they want the gore, they want that standard slasher template. And then you have the reboot, which takes some of the themes and some of the vibe of the original Wrong Turn and goes in a very different direction and is more about cult horror and has more of a statement to make on the morality of society, and it makes you think a little bit more while toning down a lot of the gore and the slasher elements and the violence. So which one do I end up liking more? As it stands right now, my number 2 is the original Wrong Turn from 2003. Now, I do have a lot of nostalgia for this movie. I do really enjoy it. I never thought it was really anything above a mediocre, passable slasher movie with a pretty standout cast that just happened to come out in a time where slashers really weren't that abundant, so it kind of stuck out for some reason. And I've always been shocked that that movie gave us a whole franchise, let alone 7 movies. But it is enjoyable. It is enjoyable if you just want that type of movie. If you just want a gory slasher film, it does work for that. But it has very stupid character decisions, which is an annoyance of mine, and that happens throughout this franchise. It does have very wooden villains that are just basically, hey, we eat people. That's the whole setup. We're not trying to say anything beyond that, which works if you just want a slasher film, if you want to think a little bit more, if you want something a little bit more to latch onto. Not a whole lot here, but it does have some good gory kills, does have a good atmosphere, and it is fun to go back to. So I enjoy this film. It's never been one of my favorites, but if I'm in a Wrong Turn mood, I've watched this movie plenty of times, and I will continue to watch this throughout my life. However, for me personally, I do prefer the reboot as of right now. Now, this is, again, not a perfect film. There is no movie on this list that I think is awesome or great or like best of all time or coming even close to that. I think this has the potential to deliver a sequel that does that possibly. We'll see how things go. Wrong Turn 2021. The first 40 minutes or so, aside from much better production quality and much better camera work and just a better look overall, really does match the quality of the rest of this franchise. You have horrendous characters, you have terrible dialogue. There's this whole controversy that I've been getting left and right in my comment section saying that this is a woke movie and trying to push all this stuff, which is absolute horseshit. The movie never makes a statement about gay couples or interracial couples aside from them walking into this podunk hillbilly town thinking, ooh, they might not like us. That's like the one statement that it makes, and it's used to subvert your expectations for something that happens at the end. It's a movie that has characters that they don't do anything with. That is really the biggest offense that you could say with the characters. There's a gay couple where they don't do anything with them. They don't say anything about them. They're just characters. If they were a straight couple, the movie would be exactly the same. Same with the interracial couple. So it's a movie that has this group of characters that they really don't do anything with. They don't flesh them out in any interesting way. Even the main character, the main characterization you get of her is given to you from a throwaway line of dialogue by her stepmom in a completely separate scene. Instead of just showing us what this character is, they just tell us in one line of dialogue, and that's not very good storytelling. The first 40 minutes or so of this movie, I was like, this is trash. This is right along with all the other ones. This is gonna suck, and I'm gonna hate it. Then this weird thing happens to where they introduce the villains of this movie, and they introduce you into what these villains are about and how this is something different than the original Wrong Turn, and what direction they're going to be taking this, and what they're trying to get you to think, and what they're trying to convey with this movie. And suddenly, it's like a completely different creative team took over from that point on, and the movie was intense, the movie was crazy, the movie was engaging, the characters were suddenly interesting, I was questioning things about them that I wasn't planning on questioning later on. There's some gnarly, gory kills that is not just there to gross you out, it's actually there to intensify what's going on and make you fear for these characters' situations, and that works. And all the way through to the end credits, I think that they kept subverting and surprising me to where I didn't know where this movie was going, and it's not very often, especially in this franchise, that that happens. So to me, I really enjoyed that experience. I like that type of movie more, something that has something to explain, something that's gonna make you question some things. I love my basic ass slasher movies, don't get me wrong, and another day of the week, maybe I'll prefer the original 2003 one because it's just a simple slasher movie, and that might be what I'm in the mood for that day. After watching this whole franchise over 3 weeks, this was exactly what I wanted, and I really hope we get a sequel from this because I think there's so much potential for it. But if you don't like this and you just prefer slashers, totally understand why this wouldn't be your thing. Just give me rational explanations, not ridiculous ones. So that's it, guys. That is my ranking of the Wrong Turn franchise. Thank you guys for supporting me along with this review series. It was actually very successful in the views. You guys have been awesome in the comment section, up to the reboot, then some of you started getting a little crazy. But let me know down below what your ranking is. Let's talk about this one. What's the next franchise you want to see me do? I know you guys want me to finish Saw, that's coming soon, but after that, what do you want to see me do? Let me know down below. Please like and share this video. Check out all of those other reviews. I probably put cards throughout the video. Hit that subscribe button so you can see what I do next. Thank you for watching, and as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.